way, right? That soccer community is there, and it's a community. It's a real community. Yes, it's competitive, but at the end of the day, everyone in the soccer community is interested to make sure that the sport continues to grow and development continues to happen. Um, so same thing for the players and goalkeepers, right?
Yeah. And
They want they want to be part of this community, right? And
that's
during
something.
these,
Sorry, I was just going to say that's because that's one thing that I'm looking at everything here, and one thing that I find so wonderful about this is it's not about just the growth of Seasters and Insular and everyone who's involved with the academy, but like by doing these mentoring programs for the coaches, improving the coaching education, it's going to improve the coaching education and the development throughout Ukraine, throughout these
yes,
different communities, right?
yes, 100%. Our goal is to bring world class, you know, training and education for not just our team, for the whole Ukrainian soccer industry. And our goal is to partner with a world class operator to bring them into Ukraine and help us operate it. And to be frank, Ukraine doesn't really have any international professional sports operator today, right? So I think whoever comes in first, it will always, in the history of development of the sport, will be, this entity that changed the entire industry for the entire country, right?
Yeah.
And this is sort of what we're aiming to do, right? We want to continue to develop it. We want, and we don't want this to be some kind of donation case, right?
Hmm.
We want to make it commercially interesting, right? And
Yeah.
so we can make this opportunity commercially interesting through, through infrastructure, through real estate. We can make it interesting through using Ukraine as sort of like breeding and growth ground. We believe it's going to be less expensive to train ladies and goalkeepers in Ukraine than versus any other country in Europe or US. We believe that geographically, Odessa region where our team is at has always been positioned as one of the best places to do sports due to its geographic location in the entire Soviet Union. There's a lots and lots of you know soccer fields in residential areas. There's a lot of kids growing. It has great potential. And another thing is kids from other countries like Romania, Moldova, all the surrounding countries are willing to travel there. Even
Yeah.
now during the war, we have multiple international players living in Odessa and playing for us. And because we are also really focused on infrastructure, we are continuing to acquire additional training bases. We can you know become this hub for development of players, right? And
Yeah.
development of coaches. But the
I
goal
was
is to the goal is to partner with somebody who already has top talent who can help us build this development program correctly, right?
well, one thing I want to bring up about that is that I love the fact that you were talking about, because a lot of times when programs are seeking assistance with resources or anything like that, they're talking about what people can do for them, but they don't talk about that symbiotic relationship and what they can do on the opposite side. So like, the fact that you're saying, hey, it's more cost effective, to work with players in Ukraine and hidden talent out here, for no disrespect or whatever, but like maybe who haven't been found because they haven't had the right opportunities. These are things that there are clubs around the world that are looking again for cost effective places to train, and they're also looking for players that for lack of a better term, from an investment standpoint, are going to be more cost effective than a domestic player. And I think that's just really, really cool. I love seeing emerging markets where you find all this possibility. I mean, look, we all know that Ukraine is chock full of resources, not just in football, but in other areas too. And to be able to showcase that to the rest of the world, I think is really, really enticing. And one of the things about that, that I kind of want to talk about is like, how do you see this evolving over time? Because you talk about like, hey, this is how we're starting out, but I'm sure you have like a long-term goal with all of this, right?
Yes. Well, I mean, we take things at different stages, right? So, the sort of intermediate goal, right, is to continue to acquire some additional infrastructure, continue to build out kids' academies, right? And obviously, when the war is over, and we hope it's going to be over soon, to start bringing over, mentors and coaches, or even just regular soccer players from U.S. and Europe to Ukraine. I think it also will be beneficial for them to come in and, first of all, travel internationally. Second of all, meet the local teams, and build relationships. I think there's a bigger goal beyond just sports. It's getting these kids to kind of integrate, and be kind of a world citizen, right? Both for Ukrainian and for U.S. and European and Asian and Middle Eastern teams and so on. But
So
the
is
biggest thing
Mikhail,
is,
just really quickly, I was going
yeah,
to say, like, how do like American universities play into this? Because I know that's a part of the conversation, that we had, with Sisters when we were talking about working
yeah.
together, and that there was a lot of players over there that not only have the the academic standing to get into American universities, but also the playing acumen to play at American universities.
This is all in development, right? So we are striving to become this bridge between Ukraine and all the world, right? So we want our players to have access to the world of possibilities, right? Different countries, universities, and so on, right? Average kid, average player in Ukraine doesn't know where to turn to, let's say, find a university to go to or to play with. And a lot of a lot of U.S. and European based investors and business community, they you know they haven't done a lot of business in Ukraine, so they're potentially looking for some intermediary that can be there, kind of like a bridge for them. Like, we are a U.S. based organization, right? That is a parent for all this sports company in Ukraine. It's a lot easier for investors and operators to talk to us here, and then we invite them to Ukraine, kind of show them around. You know, I believe if you go to Ukraine once, you're gonna fall in love with the people in the country, and you're gonna want to do something there because it's although it's an emerging market, but it's a European city, like it's a
Mhm.
European country, right? It's got a lot of character, it's got a lot of great people, it's geographically located in very favorable areas, um, you know. But the bigger goal is to you know turn this turn women's soccer sport in Ukraine into commercially viable business that can be sustained by potentially merging with a large operator that can utilize all the facilities, all the grounds, all the staff to train folks, not just Ukrainian folks, bring folks from other countries, train them there, right?
So,
It's more
so
cost efficient.
are you looking for like a major club in the world, like let's say an NWSL club or a WSL club, to make a sister relationship, with sisters, so that there's a give and take of resources, and then there's some sort of a education collaboration and a player identification collaboration, something like that, similar to like what Men's City has with some different groups around the world.
Yes, any type of a structure, is on the table, right? So whether it's
Welcome back to the long-awaited return of Gloves Off. I don't even want to count how many days it's been. It's been too many, but it's good to get back with you, Saskia. We've had a long run with the season and the playoffs and finally the championship. Saskia, give us, from your perspective, one word that sums up goalkeepers this season, because I have something in my head that I'm curious to see when you look back on the season for just the goalkeepers. What is like one word that comes up as like a theme for you, if you can think of one? Because I've got something in my head.
Turnover.
Turnover. Okay. Are we talking turnovers or like a lot?
I would say that's a hard question, because I'd say it's individual with that, and you watch players that really struggled in the beginning of the season and then kind of found their stride. You found other teams that had to change their goalkeepers altogether, and I know we'll talk about that. And so I feel that it comes down to the individual. So that's why I said turnover. Look at Kansas City and stuff. So I think that, and a little bit of inconsistency.
Yeah.
I think is a good word for it.
Okay, I think for me it's on the same idea, but it's kind of taken a different direction. But like survivability, because I think people survive. I think some people, and for some people it was easier. Like, let's be real, like sitting behind Orlando. Like
I was going to say Anna Morehouse. That's it. Exactly. Yeah. I knew what you were going to say.
You're going to get a cushion that, like, in Utah you're not going to get. So I think let's just do this.
Look how that helped Hot.
Yeah, well, I think it's pros and cons for sure. So speaking of, let's start here, because I was going to start somewhere else, but since we're on it, let's start with Goalkeeper of the Year finals, and we don't have to go into the weeds with this. But these are the final three. Obviously, if you've paid any attention, Berger was the final winner. Morehouse got second team, and when I see these three, I think this is a very fascinating three, because in some sense, I think you can find a lot of similar threads throughout the league just with these three. You've got Berger, who came in later into the year and won the league, but her team wasn't blowing every team out of the water like you kind of saw with Orlando. Morehouse, there's a different responsibility that she's having in that game, not too dissimilar to Naeher with the national team, I think, at times. But then you see Hot and Utah, who are getting shelled every game, and she's in the finalist three. But you only have one American in here. So I think there's a ton of threads and storylines you can pull out of here. But I think the thing for me that stood out the most was seeing a huge praise for international goalkeepers this year. Not that they didn't deserve it. I think Berger winning it, I think most people were pretty happy with that. But I did think it was very odd. I mean, when's the last time we had in any of our leagues here, the finalists three only have one American in it? I'd have to double check. But I think that was probably the big interesting thing of all the Americans, especially. It was Hot as a final third. I thought that was very interesting.
Well, I think that
she has one cap now, but she started the year with zero. I mean, you've got Kingsbury, you've got Campbell, Murphy.
I think I'm surprised Campbell's not in this. Yes. Because Campbell was, like, rest assured, without Campbell, it would have been a tragic for Houston, period. So when you're talking about somebody that makes a difference every single game, you're talking about, Campbell. Yes, I think Hot made a difference every game for Utah, but not like Utah still struggled. And then it wasn't until the second half of the season that they changed everything, and they put better players in front of her, and and a better system in front of her. And then they started to win, and they actually became really hot. Not like, no pun intended. They became really hot second after summer break. And so, But I think that if you have a goalkeeper that was consistently a game changer and a difference maker every single game, then you look at Jane Campbell.
Yeah.
Berger, I agree with. Berger hands down came in and she jumped. She didn't miss a beat. When she came in, she didn't play the entire. Obviously, she came in later in the season, in the middle of the season. The minute she stepped on the field, we were all like, we were talking about her during the season. She's the best goalkeeper in the league right now. And to not miss a beat coming back and playing that way, then I do think she deserved Goalkeeper of the Year. I just think it's crazy that somebody gets Goalkeeper of the Year without playing the whole season. But,
and it's tough. I think that's a hard line to draw. I mean, I don't really know what, like, I'd have to say personally, you have to play these many games, because it was such a, but
it was an immediate impact. And look where they ended up.
No, and I think that's like the tough thing for me. It's like they obviously did well, and I will say I thought the chances she got, Cassie Miller did very, very well. The backup, so I was a little bummed that she didn't get a longer run, but you couldn't deny, I mean, to give you some context, Berger went from a known quantity. I mean, she was coming from Chelsea for sure, but that really propelled her to like really solidify that #1 spot with Germany, where it's great. I mean, I think she only has 17 caps now. Like she really like said like, hey, not only am I, best here or best in this area, like she has a real easy claim now for best in the world, which is
and I agree with that. And I think that the thing even coming from Chelsea is we've talked about the English league and the depth of it isn't there. So the question always is okay, but you don't get shelled at Chelsea, so can you come and step into a league where you can play the last place team and the first place team, and you're gonna have to make some serious saves. And she did, and we've gone over, I struggled to find some of her weaknesses during the season, but I found them. I felt like she has an issue when if you run a player in front of her, she can get drawn with that player. So if you get a near post runner and you go far post, she can kind of hiccup and stuff. And we've seen that. We saw that in the game against Angel City when the ball came in and it skipped past when it looked like Sid LaRue was going to get a touch on it. She didn't. Berger got drawn by LaRue and it just skipped past. Like, I think, right. Yeah. And I think that, but I think hands down, the fact that she just hit this league in stride and was so powerful in it, her distribution's really solid. Like she's that goalkeeper. She's that new goalkeeper.
Well, and I think when you're trying to find kind of weaknesses in a game and you're getting into complex scenarios, like that's usually a good sign. So I agree with you. And I think this actually, let's hop to her last game in the season. And we're not going to go through every little bit of this, but I'm going to go ahead and skip to the goals here. So this is a semifinal game. This is Washington and Gotham here. We've got, I should have wrote down the times of the goals here. But we got Washington and Gotham here. It was a 1-1 tie in regulation. Then they go to penalties. And I'm trying to find, I need to take this layer off here. Here we go. That's going to make my life a lot easier. Where's this first goal? Okay. So we have an earlier goal for Gotham against Kingsbury, which I thought she had a really wonderful run in the season. And I felt like it was in the playoffs where we felt like it was a little short. So both these two goals here that in the 1-1 tie come from a very similar situation for me. Your ball coming in, you've got to keep it kind of what you're hitting onto, having to make some decisions about moving laterally and how they're going to play this. And so you've got this first goal here from Gotham here in the 56th minute. And you can see.
And on this goal, we're going to talk about Kingsbury really quick right now. She's still moving laterally.
Yes,
and we actually saw this in the final on Barbara Banda's goal. That ball has to be saved. And it has to be saved. Banda hit it well, but she had her far post covered, and she was still wrong-footed, moving laterally, and she was already there. So had she been set. I'm
gonna stop you now because I don't want to talk about it twice because it was so painful to watch.
It was because coming off the PK saves and everything like that, and I was sitting here going like, okay, if they end up in penalties, I think Kingsbury, I would pick Kingsbury over Morehouse.
Yeah.
All right, but that goal was not a good goal.
Oh,
for a
it was
goalkeeper.
painful. Yeah,
It was
I
painful to watch.
Oh,
And she couldn't, she was so still wrong-footed and moving laterally, which I didn't understand because you had a defender on your right hip. Sorry, this isn't the thing we're going to show, but this is the same type of situation in a sense that she couldn't readjust, that she didn't even make an effort for it.
Yeah,
and there was no reason for that. She should have been just squared up and ready to react near post because your far post was covered. So here, this ball's hit already, and she's still moving laterally.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you hear it a lot of times. The easiest goalkeeper to beat is a moving keeper, and I think this is a prime. And we'll see some other examples.
Well, Tony DeChico used to always say it's better to be set and out of position than moving.
I love that. Yeah,
because so many keepers try to get into the space where they think they're supposed to be instead of and getting caught moving instead of just saying, listen, I'm a little bit out of position, but I'd rather be set. Yeah.
Well, and I say this goal here is all the more confusing because you see I forget the goal scorer, so forgive me, but you see the body language here. Like the flick is going to be difficult to find. So if you are going to lean a certain way, for me, it's cheat towards your left post in this case. And we want to call it near post.
Well, for me, it'd just be square and set.
Well, and I think that's probably the safest play of all. But you see, I'm going to kind of rapidly play and pause here. As this ball, it's already been
ball's moving, and look at her body. She's still got a whole nother shuffle step.
Yeah.
Away from the direction of the ball to try to come back the other direction. And so when you show Berger make this save coming up that you were skipping past, she actually gets set. So those are the little differences that make. So watch Kingsbury here. And so she's still going. This ball is hit. She should have been set there to react back the other way. She takes a whole nother set.
Let me go back to the other angle here because one more time here. Yeah, so this ball comes in, and you're absolutely right. She's moving. This might be a bit of the intensity.
Set right here. You should be set.
Play here. I don't know if it's intensity of the game kind of getting to her, or if she's trying to do too much, or if she missed, or whatever it is. But maybe she thought that ball was going farther. But we're fine here. But it's like
but she was still moving. So there's nothing you can do unless you're 6'6" and maybe can get
maybe 7 foot at that point.
Yeah.
But I do want to jump too because we got a lot to go through today. So let's jump to the final goal here because I felt like it was not too dissimilar of a scenario, and I apologize for everyone that I'm just clicking through here. This is annoying, but this is the final goal here. So an awful foul. If you are a defender or you're a goalkeeper that has a good relationship with your defenders, this foul area is so difficult for goalkeepers to play because you have to worry about the shot and the cross, and it's very, very difficult to play. So I will say that it's probably difficulty-wise more at a higher level than what we just saw. But that said, similar problem where it's that kind of step forward. I'm not going to go. I'm going to go change my mind here. And now this ball is in. And her movement is forward and back where she's getting caught, not like the last play where it was left to right. But by the time she's able to move, this ball is already 80% to goal. And so could she save that? Maybe, but she has no chance now.
Not with the backward motion.
Yeah.
And so it is similar in the sense you're wrong-footed. And so you have to take as goalkeepers that her getting drawn forward on this, if she takes that pause, you have to take that breath. So it's leave late, arrive early, explode. So don't take that step forward. Then if and a lot of people, it's damned if you do in this scenario, damned if you don't. If this is a little bit lower and you don't come forward, if it's a little bit more in the 6 and you stand there and you get blown into the back of the net on the header, people are going to be like, why didn't you come for the ball? Now, this is a driven ball. Okay, this isn't a lofted ball, which makes it even more difficult. But the fact that she pulled herself out of position, she did not recover fast enough. And so she is too upright and she can't. She should save this ball. And to be honest with you, this ball should be saved with her taking a shuffle step to the right and catching it.
Let's go back to that angle here real quick so we can see that a little bit clearer.
Hey guys, it's gloves off. So
I think you're absolutely right. Look, what are we talking about? It's the semifinals of the best league in the world. We're not talking about.
Right there, boom.
Yeah.
She gets totally pulled out.
Yeah.
And we see this, and look, this is right now arguably one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Okay, so young kids out there, listen, this happens to you guys on corner kicks mostly and stuff like that, where you take that big jump forward and then it goes over your head. Well, this is a similar situation, just in a different angle. And so it happens to the best of people, and she got pulled forward. Like I said, this isn't a lofted ball, this is a driven ball, and so that poses a whole nother amount of scenarios because it's coming in super quick, right? So yeah. I think the other thing is she takes such a big step forward.
Well, like, let's be real, her strength isn't the quickness. Like, maybe she's a bit younger, or maybe she's a different keeper, you might get away with this, but I think if I'm going to talk about weaknesses in her game, the quickness isn't there. Now, I think she's got good IQ, she's got good instincts, and that's where it carries her a long ways, which is a lot of fun to watch. But this sort of stuff, like, I think she knows it. I mean, we're not.
Oh yeah, she knows. She sits down and she knows.
Yeah.
And listen, we can always go back to why wasn't defense marking up, this and that and the other. This is first of all, it's a great goal, right? And it is. It's just it's a clutch. It's a great goal and stuff. But in that situation, that was funny.
Yeah. There's a lot in this game.
There was a lot going on in this game.
And honestly, the final as well. Goodness, I don't know if I've seen as much drama in a final as we had here. I'm trying to get up to the penalties here as the goal. Okay. All right. So I'll be honest. So when I was watching this game,
I didn't know what Berger was doing on the penalties. And I talked to Jill Loyden about it.
Yeah.
I feel, and before we watch, I'm going to tell you, she is known for being able to and stuff like. I feel that what she does, and we talked about, I was texting you like crazy. What she does, she comes forward. I agree with, okay? Like, I agree, cut the angle. And you don't guess. I'm going to tell you guys everything right now. Do not guess unless you know that person 100 times out of 100 goes to your right-hand side. You still have to read the player. You still have to give yourself a pause and stuff. Don't get drawn. Don't guess. But I feel that Berger comes so forward that she gets beat by pace.
Yep. And
if she can still come forward, but she's coming too forward. So she's actually taking herself out of the situation. Look at that step forward. If that step is a half a foot more, not as forward, a little more lateral, I think she gets a finger on this ball. But she's stepping forward and getting beaten with pace. That's what I saw on her PKs.
Well, you think of like your body motion. If you're taking that step forward, you're going to kind of make this J shape over where you're trying to, like, it's not a real straight line A to B sort of thing. You're swinging into it. So I'll say this as someone who thinks that like the Bryce Curry save is like the best save.
I told you that. I go, it's the biggest cheat in the world.
She's getting down like 4 yards. I mean, like
Bry came off, set, and then dove. That's how. And Bry knows it. Listen, this isn't anything that Bry knows. That's what the refs are there for. There wasn't VAR back then. Yeah. We can all admit it. Yes, but Bry literally took 2 steps forward, set, and then dove. So it was in today's world, it would have been called back, and they would have had to reshoot it.
It would have been. I mean, it would have been laughable if someone did that now. Just like, what are you doing? But at the time, I mean, like, and Hong, the Chinese keeper, was doing something similar, not as egregious.
Yeah, Hong was. Yeah,
it was. So I'm with you. I think now this one's a tough ball because it's rising a bit, and
this is a good shot. But it's a good shot.
I'm with you. Like, it's tough to get that.
Because this is the one I'm talking about, pace. And so, okay, so these aren't the, all right, we'll watch it.
You want to go back on that first one, or?
No. So these PKs are not really good PKs by Gotham. Okay, so when you want to I'm not taking anything away from Kingsbury saving the ball. And I'm going to tell you why, because like I said, you see a lot of goalkeepers go the wrong direction. They guess, they do everything. They bite on the player. She held and she goes, but they're not good PKs. And so the reason I'm saying you don't guess, and Franz Hook and I talked about this once. The reason you don't guess is because if you can read the player, and then just go for the shot, you force that player to shoot a perfect PK. If you have the reaction time, if you're quick. Right. And so this was something for me that I was really quick. And I knew that if I took that little movement forward back then when you could and stuff like that, and I went for the shot, that 3 times out of 5, I might make the save. You know, I know that's an arrogant thing to say, but it was something that that I believed in thoroughly. She doesn't guess here. And so it becomes a bad PK becomes an easy save. And this is exactly where you don't want to kick a ball if you're a PK taker.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say this, I think the ability to time it correctly, to react and respond under this environment, I think a lot of keepers struggle with that. And so I think a lot of keepers feel like they have no chance at all if they react because they're responding so late.
But I
slow. But I see what you're saying, but I think a lot
But
of
I like what goalkeepers are doing now is that they're starting kind of with that foot back behind the line, because you have to have foot on the line.
Yeah.
So even if your forward movement isn't from the line into the field space, but it's still a forward momentum, you can still get that timing right. Listen, it's not that easy.
Yeah,
but
easier said than done for sure.
Yes.
But I think that's the problem I think that's why a lot of people guess is that timing aspect, which is very difficult to get. They struggle with it and they feel like they have no chance. So that's why they do start guessing, which I can kind of understand. But I think if you're looking to really maximize, you should have trust in yourself that you have enough, even subconsciously, of an ability to read a shooter up until the last second. You should be able to kind of feel this and that.
And I don't think you can count on analysis in a shootout. And the reason I say that is, okay, when we played Clemson at UCLA in the quarterfinals of the NCAA tournament, quarterfinals, Sweet 16 quarterfinals, Clemson had just won on PKs. And the other assistants told LB, my goalkeeper, Lauren, what side every single person went to. And I'm like, do not tell her that. Because first of all, I know LB as a goalkeeper and she's going to listen to that and she's going to say, okay, Sophia Smith always goes to the right. I'm just going to the right. Right. Well, Clemson also knew that was just an example. Sophia Smith didn't play for Clemson, but Clemson also knew that they had just come out of penalties. So they knew that. So the minute that Lauren went the wrong way, every single player on Clemson knew that they were in Lauren's head. And now Lauren's in her head going, oh God, they know that I know. And now do they know I know? Are they going to change? Are they going to change? You have to be able as a goalkeeper to be able to read the shooter and to read the way their hips open, to read the way their foot goes. And I know it takes a split second, but it's something that has to be trained. So you could go ahead and play it.
Well, last thing on that, I'll say if a keeper can have the statistical information and reserve that as like a plan B of like, they're trying to read and they're not picking up on anything of like, okay, if I have nothing, this is my default, but there should be the autonomy of like in the moment, hey, they're doing something a little different than normal. Okay, I'm going to click into this. I'm going to click into that. Yeah. And then go with that gut. Because again, you as even a youth goalkeeper, you've seen hundreds of shots at this point. So you've got pattern recognition already. You know what it looks like to kick the ball to your left, to your right. So trusting that and leaning into that, but again, coming with training with that. But I'm okay with if it's like a plan B, we'll lean on it. But that's it. Let's move forward here because we want to give Kingsbury some praise. Has some nice saves. I think location-wise as well is kind of what you're getting at here, Sauce, is like the reason why these penalties are not great is like it's in a very savable spot.
And see, look at that step. So Berger goes the wrong way, but look how forward that step is.
Yeah.
And had that, let's say that ball had come to the other side, I think she would have been beaten with pace again. I don't know, but that step's super forward, and she gets thrown here. So
Well, here, I'm going to try to pause it like right as it enters the goal. I'd say right about there. It's like
she was already gone.
Yeah, but if you respond to that. Do you save it? Not 10 out of 10, but she
might get it, but I think she was already gone. And if you look, I think how open of a stance that shot came from, it would have been incredibly hard to come back across your body on it. Yeah. So watch how wide she gets. So take a hiccup here, and there is no way she's coming across her body on this.
That's tough. Yeah.
Look at the plan. Look at the plan of her foot.
Shoulders. Like you could come across. It's very difficult.
Very difficult. And Berger's already going. Look at
she's clearly made up her mind. Like, but also, like let's say she hits that to the side she's diving. Like
I think if she then Berger might save it.
Yeah, it's such a weird. It's that J shape that kind of kills me. But it's like you're not even going to cover the like if she hits that just
But
a
if she
little
hits
bit.
that, if she hits that low, Berger doesn't
Yeah,
save it.
I think yeah, I get what she's trying to do. I don't love it. And look, if she makes these saves, if she just happens to get it right, of course she's a hero. But no, I'm with you. I think I don't like the angle of it, and she goes a little too early for me on this sort of stuff.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
agree.
I don't know if the side was dictated before, or if that was influenced, but I definitely know strikers have the ability to like see a keeper go early, and I think,
Yeah, and then Zerboni, this is a horrible PK.
Again, location, like you've put this in a very favorable spot for a keeper.
Yeah, and we keep saying that, guys, because anything from like the knees to the shoulders makes it very easy on the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Look, and she almost dives past it. Okay. Yeah. But still, and like I'm gonna on Kingsbury's side of this, she still has the body ability, the control of her body to actually throw her hands back the other direction. She didn't automatically go with her hands far post, like across her body. She's like, she watched, and she actually has this, she makes this harder for herself, but she actually has the control of her body to make this save because she's gone on this.
Now, I will say this. So she's obviously, she hasn't struck the ball yet. And so she's already dictated what side she's going to go. So she is going early, but again, she's covering that. For me, she's covering the post. So like her hands are coming back to make the safe. But if that shot goes towards the post,
yeah,
I don't know if she covers it all the way, but she's going to get there a lot closer than Berger's going to get. And of course, again, it's not a good penalty. It's into the body. You switch the penalty takers for Berger, she probably saves at least one of these three. But I'm with you on this. Like I think there's a good like awareness to come back and not just completely sail past it. So
yeah, Zerboni could have gone dead center and she might have scored too.
Yeah.
But
we need a lip reading on that one from. Let me ask you this: What do you think about?
I don't like her stance. Is that what you're about to ask me?
I was going to ask you. What do you think about her?
I don't like it, and this is why. Because what you're giving the shooter is an entire picture of the goal, and I'm not saying that you have to go crazy with your arms, but I do believe in allowing yourself to look a little big. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not telling you to wave your arms, but have some size, and now if I'm a shooter, I'm like, okay, what do I put the D? Do I take the A-L-Y? Where do I want to hit it? The D-E-L-T-A? Like, where do I want to hit it? Where do I want to hit it? Like, and Berger's a big goalkeeper. You used to see Brad Fiedel used to stand there and he used to clutch the crossbar, which was like pretty intimidating, but I think it's interesting. But if it works for her, obviously it didn't work for her on this night, but if it works for her, I'm not the one that's going to change it for you. I'm more concerned about how much she steps forward, and she does it again here.
Well, I'll say my assumption is her idea with this is to kind of give them either a false sense of security, or because it is so odd, I think it could be a little unsettling, but we're dealing with.
I would want to ask the shooter, because.
How did you feel? Yeah.
Because if I'm like, dude, I see the whole goal. Like if I saw the size of a goalkeeper and knew that I only had like maybe 3 yards here and 3 yards, or like a couple yards here and a couple yards there, that's all I see. That makes it harder. That makes I gotta put it there. Maybe because it's a false sense of security, they end up going more central. It's possible.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah, because you compare it to. Yeah, and just because it was a high-profile moment in the men's game with Argentina's Emi Martinez, and how he would go get the ball, he would like talk shit in the face of the shooter, like he would impose himself, and he gets a card at some point for doing it. But like here's the totally end of the spectrum of like, I'm going to completely pacify myself, and I could see that being a little unsettling. But I think I'm with you. Like I think at the end of the day, you've allowed the shooter to gain control, and you haven't.
Yeah, I personally would say don't show that much of the goal. Like it's almost like you have some goalkeepers that stand off center.
Yeah.
Well, and they're like, hey, shoot over here.
On the second one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Let's take a look here. So she does kind of a flinch there, I guess, trying to throw, but it doesn't seem to throw too much.
And here's that step again.
There's that step. And I think she to give her some
She gets
credit,
a hand on this one, doesn't she?
I think so.
Almost.
Yeah.
Almost.
But
And so here's the
I
other
think
thing with this.
her timing's better here. Like she's not
Her
going
timing's much better, but
early.
she dove up and then had to come down.
Yeah.
And so instead of going on a straight line to the ball line, she goes up and has to come down. And so that's what beats her here. So look at that, up that, and now she's got to reach down. So instead of just direct, so this should be like a collapse dive almost. Yeah. She's using a power step to throw herself up and realizing the ball's down and hoping her hand can reach to it. I tell you, if Berger goes on a straight line to ball line on this, she makes this save and then some. Like that ball is probably parried to the corner flag.
Well, I wonder if she got in her head a little bit of like, well, the last two went up. Maybe they have the profile on me of like, if you shoot high, you'll score. Or maybe just subconsciously. I think because this is not the shape she had in the first two. So it sounds like she shifted a little bit. Now, like your team's down 2-0 in the penalties. Like you're probably willing to shake things up. So I get that. But yeah, it was very odd to see.
And again, even with this arc, if you want to say, like, had she not come as far forward, I wonder, and the reason I'm saying it coming forward, when you get given with pace, if we want to attack the ball as goalkeepers, but if you over attack the ball, you can get beat by pace, right? Because now the distance between you and the shooter and the ball is a lot closer, right? That is a good thing sometimes, and it's not a good thing sometimes. You have to give yourself some reaction time. And I think that maybe if she doesn't come that far forward in this, she still might get, even though she dives wrong, she still might get a hand to it. But I think it passes her because she steps too far forward.
Well, I'm sure people are out there saying, well, if they just went the other way, none of this would matter. And I understand that, but I think playing at percentages, let's just take the shots that do go this side. I think she's at a tough spot. If it goes low, it probably beats her. If it goes high, it's still a chance it goes in. Like that, you're not getting a guarantee to save that. And if she tucks it in middle, high, even a few inches inside the post, like maybe in a more favorable spot, I don't know if she's covering that. Like just from a percentage standpoint, I think she's covering an odd part of the goal.
Yeah.
So we'll play this out. So and look, she's a couple inches.
Hey, and by the way, it's a good PK. So I don't want to take that away from that. That's just tucked in. It's a good PK. Even if she takes a lower collapse dive and goes straight on ball line, she probably won't save that either. I don't know, but I think it was a good PK. I mean, you're hitting inside low post side netting, like bending away from the keeper. It's exactly what you're supposed to do.
That's very true. That's very true. And again, Gotham kind of struggled with their penalties. I mean,
now this is a horrible PK.
It's slow. It's slow. It's into the body.
She has basically turned her entire body towards that post, giving her, there's absolutely no way in the world you can come back to the other post. No way. So if you replay that, like play this here, there's no way. Yeah. Like no way right now. This is.
I'm guessing the idea was.
Look at this. I know what she's thinking, that your goalkeeper's going to bend it, but the way she steps to this ball right there, that there's no way with that run up and that step that close to the ball, looking at the shooter, that she can come back across her body. And that's reading a kicker. That's saying, oh my God, you technically can't come back across your body with this.
And I think that's why Kingsbury goes a bit early there, because it's like, okay, you've made a play where it's gonna, like, the odds on her is coming this way. Now, could she hit that across? Yes, she definitely could.
It would have been a really awkward shot.
It would have been awkward. It would have been a very good shot as well. But you're playing the percentages. You're feeling good, of course. You've got a little bit of a lead. You can kind of lean into your decision making a lot easier there. But yeah, she just plays the odds of like, oh, you've angled yourself this way. Okay, I'll go that way. Fine.
Yeah.
Like,
I go back to where that plant foot hit, because had that plant foot hit a little bit further back on that run up, then you're like, okay, you can do that bending ball across, right? But because that plant foot was so close to the ball, like technically it'd be impossible to hit that. I mean, I'm sure somebody can. I'm sure Messi can, or somebody, or I'm sure Banda can, or I'm sure somebody can.
Yeah, but it's few people.
Odds are,
we already hit it a little bit, so a lot of positives from Kingsbury here. But since we're in gloves off, let's get to it. It's right here. I think the big thing for me on this one, I'd be really curious to hear her recollect I'm trying to get the right spot here. Recollect what was going on. This is not, we're so zoomed out here. We'll get the replay here in a sec. But I'd be curious because it feels like she's kind of in two states of mind here, almost like she's trying to do two different things is kind of how I read the body language. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But it was such a weird kind of non-response here where she basically doesn't even really move her left foot when you'll see it here. Yeah. That's just open up your left foot.
But that's a great image of it. So if you go back to that, and this is what I mean by her far post is covered right here. If Banda tries to bend this far post, it's blocked. Okay. Unless it's like, which you got to give it up to Barbara Banda. It's the most ridiculous shot ever. And it bends around everybody and goes into the upper 90, which is possible. But you again have to go with the odds here and the angle of this play. And there's really only one place for Banda to go on this.
Yeah.
And that is near post. Now, your far post is covered as a goalkeeper. You know it's going near post. She has good positioning, I think. I think she has good positioning considering where the ball is.
She's maybe like, for me, like 2 or 3 inches to her right. Like I'd want to move her, I'd want to move her to
the near post more,
just a little bit.
But I think she's flat. I think she's totally flat-footed, and you can see it in this snapshot right here. And so she is totally, and now she's presetting while the ball's being struck, so she can't react. And she does a double wide set, so now she's too wide, so she can't get that leg. Right. So now she's landing as the ball is approaching that foot. Great slow motion, by the way. There's nothing she could do right here. Now, this is one of the hardest saves to make when somebody drives a ball is that ball right next to your ankle. Yeah. Right. So when you're in a wide stance, it's a tough thing, but that's what you have your feet for. Right. So that's a kick save. You know, if you can't get your hands down, which we were never really taught, but I would say nowadays it's a kick save. Right. But she set too late. She double set on it too wide. And so she can't react to this. Well, this was painful to watch. This was painful.
I'm about to stop watching this because it was so painful. All right. So when we say kick save, just to be clear, like really it's that's the instep of your foot, not so much the laces. So like turning your.
No, just
opening up just a little bit because you try to go laces. I think that's kind of in part what she tries to do is like it kind of rolls off her foot into it because I think it does clip her.
This is just it hits her shin. She can't get and you're just literally opening up kick save like a block. Like that's it. But I think it comes down to she was flat-footed when Banda went to strike the ball, so she had to set again. She set too late, a little bit too wide, I think, for this. I think you have to be a little bit more narrow because of how close Banda is, where your position. So see this and boom. See that double set right there?
Yeah.
So she set again after Banda struck the ball. So set and now set. Watch, she's gonna set. Boom.
It's already happened. Yeah. That timing sequence is very, very def. I mean, like this ball comes in half a second, less than half a second. I mean, you don't have and this is something I think a lot of goalkeepers struggle to understand. If you lose 2 or 3 tenths of a second,
yes,
it can be a big deal. And you may think,
and it is a big deal here. Like I think on the first one, when Banda comes across, she set because she thought Banda was going to strike it the first time. Maybe. No, maybe not. I just think she set too early, and then when you set too early, so set. So she thinks Banda's going to shoot it, and she is, but she's set too early here.
Yeah.
Okay, Banda lets it roll, so now she feels she has to set again. Honestly, the set again is what beat her. Like, just do what you can, but she's flat-footed. So it was just bad timing. Like, bad repetition, set too early, then double set too wide, and now you're in such a tight space that you can't react to it.
Yeah, I think if she just like kept her weight forward here instead of trying to find that resetting motion, she just kept her weight forward and then just kind of shifted.
She makes that save.
Yeah,
I agree with you. She makes the save.
She's not going to cover everything. If she hits that top 90, like I don't think she covers it. I mean, it'd be a fantastic save, but cover what you can here. Like you're working with the angle. You've got a defender covering back post. For the most part, cover what you can here and don't give up something past you. So, all right, that's enough for me. I'm done.
You don't want to watch that one anymore. Yeah, and it's tough. I mean, because like I told you, I feel that had they got into PKs in this game, I mean, Morehouse didn't have anything to do, and I feel that I would have given the nods to Kingsbury, and that's more because of a mental thing. I think the other team knows Kingsbury right now is hot on PKs, even though we've broken down the PKs and said they were bad PKs, good saves, but bad PKs at the same time. And if we go back to the beginning of the show, like, I don't know why wouldn't have Morehouse on that final 3 list. And I don't think she was a game changer for Orlando. Here and there, she came up with a couple good saves, which you expect in a game. But there are a couple other goalkeepers, like I said, that were such an impact on their teams, whether their teams made it to the playoffs or not, whether they made it to the finals or not, whether they won the championship or not. They kept their teams alive, you know, and kept games competitive and gave their teams a chance all season. And so I would have gone with somebody else.
Yeah. No, I think Hot being on there or not, like I'm kind of, I could take it or leave it. But I think she did very well this season for what she had. But I didn't leave the season thinking, wow, that's a top 3. But I didn't think she was bad. But for me, Campbell,
I think it's because how they came out the second half of the season. Because if you go off the first half of the season, they were getting destroyed.
Yeah.
So you know, Kansas City was like bleeding goals. You know, and then they made AD French took a seat and they made that change. Yeah. So I think maybe that's why. But I think there are a couple players that are interchangeable there.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Well, let's shift gears a little bit because we got some big news with. I'm trying to think of the right adjective for her because I guess legend's probably the easiest one to throw out there. Just I feel like I've seen that a lot, but. Alyssa Naeher has announced her international retirement. Mm-hmm. We have these European friendlies coming up, which is a big good competition. But I saw some people commenting how it's very fitting that Naeher has announced her international retirement, and she's basically playing these games away from the U.S., where it's going to really minimize the publicity, which really matches kind of like
her demeanor.
She's not someone. Yeah,
she's not on the tour.
Yeah.
Retirement. I think Megan Rapinoe's still on her retirement tour.
Yeah, like, hey, she's like, hey, I'm finishing up. I'm done. You know, so I'm just gonna go ahead and play some saves here that I've pulled. So thank you to the women's football YouTube account that I can pull it from. A lot of penalty saves, a lot of big moments here. But as we go through this, I thought it might be fun to quiz you.
No.
See how your national team knowledge is.
No, don't quiz me.
I think you can do all right. But
no.
Can you give the top 10 most capped goalkeepers for the U.S. women's national team? We'll go. I think you can get a number of them, so I'm not too worried about it. But
top 10 would be
top 10 all time caps U.S. women's national team
would be in order.
No. I mean, you can try if you want, but yeah.
In order, I'm not sure I can get that, but I think it would be Solo. Scurry.
Yeah. That's 2.
Naeher.
Yeah.
So it's 3. God, you gave me 10. Harvey.
Yep.
God, I'm a bore.
You're gonna start kicking yourself here in a second.
It drops off. I know that. That's why.
Yeah, and that's because the bottom. The 6 through 10 slot are tricky.
Well, I think you would have Wyatt in there. I'm not sure. A Maslin in there.
No Maslin, no Wyatt.
Really? Okay. That's because we never played back then.
Yeah, it made it difficult. Very difficult.
Wait.
You know how many caps you finished with?
Just around 30.
Oh, you're off on that.
Oh, am I?
Well,
I was rostered for over 100 games.
You got yourself. You're top 10. You're top 10.
I'm top 10. Okay,
helps,
cool.
Yeah.
Damn, you know what? I feel like Jen Cooper just sent me this. You've got Mullenix.
Yeah, very good.
Is in there.
You got 6 right now.
Do you have Noonan in there?
Noonan's in there. Yeah, very good.
Noonan's in there. 7.
I'm pretty sure the their colleges are Stanford, UNC. I need to double check on one of these. I want to say.
Well, Noonan would be UNC, but Mullenix would be UNC.
She just retired a couple years ago. UCF is the other one. from the 80s, 90s is the third one.
Who is the keeper?
Yeah, you got a UNC keeper who retired a couple years ago. You've got a Stanford keeper still playing.
All right, I'm deferring right now, but I think I've come up with a thing.
You're gonna kick
and
yourself.
Myself is in there. Mullenix. Oh, look at me! Oh my gosh, I'm that high.
Yeah.
Okay. Harvey.
But
Alyssa Naeher, Saskia, and Barnhart. What is wrong with me?
I help you.
And Amy. I was gonna say Amy.
Amy,
Casey Murphy.
So Murphy's 11 there.
Yeah. So what's wrong with me? Ashlyn Harris. Sorry, Ashlyn. Of course, Ashlyn. I'm not like. Come on. But I think I got more than any of them would have gotten. Like, so if you would have, they wouldn't have known about like me, Harvey, Amy, Barnhart, of course, Barney, of course. Naeher. Wow, so I didn't realize. That's funny.
It's so funny to me that Barnhart is. I mean, what is she? She's 42. She's still rolling. She's yellowed out because she's still active. But
and then of course Amy. I was gonna say Amy. Yeah.
But Naeher, this is also the Naeher's got a different cap total. This is out of date from Wikipedia, but she's still third all time. But yeah, no, okay. Again, I figured you get most of them, but you get some apologies to go.
Yeah, I know. I have some apologies. One, especially to Ashlyn and Barney.
Yeah, that's right.
100%. But like I said, to do that quiz for them, and I think Mullen, they would have missed some people.
Yeah. No, that would be good. That'd be good. Okay, so we're gonna wrap up with two quick things here as we kind of
call-ups.
So we got call-ups here. So real quick, we have so we have a really interesting group here. I thought it was fascinating that there's only one cap between the other two pulled up, and I think this is for a lot of fans implying, hey, this is the direction we're gonna go. I'll be honest, I think these two are at a good spot here. I mean, Fallon's doing very well with Man United for a bit.
So if our viewers don't know, like, Fallon's had kind of a little bit of a journey, and I like this call up personally. Like, she was in the NWSL, then she went to play pro in France. Then she came back to the NWSL where she wasn't starting, and then she got the call into Man U with Earps there. So then you're like, Fallon, oh my God, what are you doing? But then obviously Earps leaves, and now Fallon's doing very well. And this is a lot of the times what we talk about sometimes you got to go find your place, and you have to say, do I want to sit on a bench here? Do I want to keep knocking my head against a wall, or do I have to roll the dice and move? And obviously I think with the call over to Man U, I think that she probably already knew. I'd love to ask her that though. Maybe I'll give her a call. Like that Earps was kind of going to leave. I like this call up. I think this is indicative of when you look at Naeher retiring from her international, whether this is a conversation that was had, I'm sure it was, that we're starting to look at these younger keepers, and we have to make a change. And you and I have talked about that. It's time to make a change. I know, I'm sure we'll see Casey Murphy back in the mix here and there. It depends on how her next season goes, in my opinion. I thought her season was a little up and down. It got better towards the end of the season. I think Jane Campbell, you'll probably see back in the mix. But it's obvious that they're going to start expanding the goalkeeper pool and giving these younger goalkeepers and these like keepers with no caps. Because why? Because there's 3 years until the World Cup. 3 years? Yeah, 3 years until the World Cup. So there's a lot of time and a lot of tournaments, a lot of games to be played, that if you're moving to the future, I agree. Like, I'm not surprised that Naeher retired. She's like, you know what? I've done my thing. I'm a 2-time World Cup champion. I'm an Olympic champion. I'm getting towards the end of my career. I'm happy in Chicago, and I just want to finish out my pro career. And we see field players do the same thing. But I like this Fallon call up.
Yeah, my one hope through all this is they don't just pick one in the next couple of months and then continue to ride that forever. Like,
I don't think they'll do that.
Let's be real. Who deserves the number one spot? Or well, first of all, I don't think anyone has like solidified I deserve number one spot. And so when you think of people in contention, I think you can throw 6 names out there.
Oh.
I mean, like there's a lot of goalkeepers.
100%. But so you can even look at who she's brought in the field as well. Yep. So obviously the triple espresso is not there. There's a reason for that. These guys have been playing a lot. They have some knocks and stuff like that. But what a perfect time. You also have some players that are already over in Europe. So instead of come meet us. Like Fallon's already there. You have Jonas, who's at Ajax, who's already in Holland. They're playing against Holland.
Yeah.
So why not look at these players? You've got 3 years. And, so this is exactly what Vlatko Antonowski didn't do.
Yes.
And instead of doing this over that time, he turned around and he called up all the old guard. And we saw how that happened, what happened.
You got to keep it fresh. I mean, like, you're the number one team in the world. You can't just keep riding, who was there last. Like, you're not growing at that point. Then that's how you start stagnating. People catch up. So.
But I think that what we've also seen from the amount of load that these players play now, right? So you come into next summer, you'll have the women's Euros next summer, but you come into, the next 3 years, you can't turn around and say, I'm going to have a healthy triple espresso. I'm going to have, a healthy Haran. I'm going to have, I can count on that. They play so much soccer now that you have to have players with multiple caps, multiple experience. So if you have to bring somebody in, you can. Like, look at Croy Bethune, who was, and hats off to Croy. So proud of you for not only rookie of the year, but midfielder of the year as well. So proud of that kid. I mean, I just couldn't wait for her to come play pro after I, played against her at UCLA and was a coach for her for like a hot second at USC. She was there and then she left. I left too. Well, that's a whole nother story. But you have to get these kids caps, and we've talked about that, and that goes for the goalkeepers too. And that's why when you look at that list that you put up, the drop off, and the drop off between Solo with over 200 caps, Scurry with in the hundreds, Naeher, and then the drop off. Like the fact that I have 28 caps, was on the team for 10 years. So that's why I said, if you look at how many games I was rostered for, it's in the hundreds, right? Yeah. It's over 100. But if you look at the caps, and then if you look at Mullinix, if you look at all those players, even Harris, the drop off is too big for me. Yep. It's too big. With so many tournaments, it's too good, and so many friendlies, it's too big.
Well, I think with Orlando, not to backtrack too much, but calling Morehouse the Iron Woman, I'm just like, man, I'm happy that she was able to do it, but from an organization standpoint, why are you not investing moments and time into your backups? And you're basically bragging, hey, the backups weren't good enough this year, so we just put them over there and they train. It's like, man, find these moments to get them minutes. And
but see, and then you saw, you saw other teams go the opposite direction, which hats off to Summer Cup, or, giving players a start, even third string goalkeepers, because you know what, rewarding a goalkeeper is amazing. And they're there day in and day out and stay after to take shots from forwards, and they train just as hard as the starters. And I think, whether you go on and call them the 1, the 2, the 3, or the 1, the 1A, 1B, 1C, whatever you want to call them, but you have to reward them. And you also have to be prepared, because if your goalkeeper starts leaking goals and your backup has never played, you got a whole nother problem.
No, 100%. So, all right. Well, to wrap up here, I'm just going to play kind of selected saves. This was a new goalkeeper for me. I like to think I have a good pulse on what's going on with things, but this is Vanderbilt's senior goalkeeper.
Run for the Seminoles.
Hope I'm saying her name right, Sarah Wodelko.
In the Florida State game,
beating Florida State, a wonderful little double save here. Not pulling it. She had 14 saves on the night. Not going to pull up everyone because some are better than others. But we'll see a couple penalties at the end. But a couple of big moments, very quick, very scrappy.
I love the quick recovery. I like the balance of her body, weight forward. She's not the tallest goalkeeper. She's a little kind of spark plug. That's nice reach saves. She uses her athleticism in this, and then of course she came up big in the PKs.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to watch. And I think anyone watching this game was thinking, okay, Florida State's, they'll get by this. Covers
it's a great tip.
Yeah, I think my favorite save's coming up. It's in here it is. It's an extra time here. coming across it. We actually just talked. This is what our NWSL keeper struggled with. So
when you see that, you don't have to replay it. Is that she comes a little bit far to the near post for my liking, considering that ball was outside the 18. But instead of getting pulled on the cross, she drop steps and she gets herself across the goal, and then she gets herself enough square that she could kick back and make the save. And then of course there's the PK. And hats off to Vandy for taking down just such a juggernaut in FSU. You know,
she has. I just checked it. She has 15 career wins in college, and technically this was a tie because they did tie. But what an awesome memory to have. As kind of goalkeeper, certainly of the week, if not month.
And just a feel good moment too. I mean, it's gone down. I think if you read the news or anything, as the biggest win in Vanderbilt history.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah.
And and again, what I'm saying is that she was the reason. And when you choose goalkeepers of the year, when you choose your top 3, they're not in the top 3 just because it's nothing against Anna Morehouse. I just feel that, were you a game changer? Were you the difference? Were you the person that kept your team? Look, you could go and you can play for the U.S. team and not make any saves and stuff like that, or you can, back in the day, you could be the goalkeeper for UNC who nobody could beat and you'd have like 5 saves on the entire season. Does that make you an All-American? Not necessarily. It doesn't.
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right. Who changed the outcome? Who gave their team a chance to win when they probably shouldn't have had a chance, to be honest. Like, very, very cool moment. Very cool to see. So,
I think my final thought would be hats off, Alyssa Naeher. I think you were a quiet giant is the best way I can describe it. I think what you did with your career, coming off of backing up solo for so long and just such a different type of goalkeeper, like on and off the field. I think you were that's why I say you're such a quiet giant to step into that role and lead by example, not necessarily by brazenness or like how like in people's face or vocal or stuff like that, just by example, and well done. Nobody can ever argue she's not one of the best. She's, like I said, it's 2 world championships and a gold medal under her belt. So
well,
of course that doesn't mean she'll be in the Hall of Fame because we don't put goalkeepers in the Hall of Fame.
We'll see that. Fingers crossed on there again then. But I think the big thing that stood out for me is she didn't really take over the position until she was like 29, 30. I mean, she was in the perennial like wait. I mean, arguably she waited more in her career than she got to play for the national team.
But then to turn it into what she did, and I think she was the perfect keeper at the perfect time for them. Like coming off of the chaos from previous, I think. I'm trying to be nice here, even though it's clubs off. Coming off of chaos and to be able to be a totally different person in that role and calm the team down and go through ups and downs. Look, obviously, last World Cup sucked, and stuff, but to dust your boots off and win the Olympics, well done. And, thank you for everything you've done and just elevate the sport. So
Absolutely. No, well earned. Well, a good note to finish gloves off on. Saskia, real quick, where can people find you?
All social media at Saskia_Weber. Check me out. Hit me up. DM me.
Perfect. And I'm Bill Reno. Wonderful to be back. Thank you, Saskia. And hopefully we can go a little bit shorter time until the next episode. Not as long as last time. But thank you, everybody.
Well, we missed each other.
Too long. Yeah, very good. All right. We'll see y'all, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, guys.